Dr. Hanju stared at the transfer order on his tablet. He read it again, hoping the words would change. They did not. "They want to send me where?" he asked, looking up at his boss, Dr. Mincio. "To the GCS Thunderclaw," Mincio said with a frown. "It's a Dorek warship." Han felt his stomach drop. Everyone knew about the Doreks. They were huge aliens with thick gray skin and bad tempers. They stood nearly 8 feet tall and lived for war. They were allies now, part of the United Galactic Coalition, but they were not known for being friendly. "Why me?" Han asked. "I'm a human medic. I work on humans." Mincio shrugged. "They asked for a human medic, specifically. But I don't know anything about Dorek biology," Han protested. "They don't want you to work on Doreks," Mincio explained. "They want you to work on their war beasts." Han blinked in confusion. War beasts were giant creatures the Doreks bred for battle. They were living weapons, as tall as a Dorek, but 4 times as heavy, with armor-like skin and claws that could tear through metal. They were mindless killing machines, or so everyone said. "What could I possibly do for war beasts?" "I'm not a vet," Han said. "The message says their beasts are getting sick," Mincio said, showing Han the full order. "Too many are dying. Their own medics can't fix the problem. They think a human might see something they missed." Han's colleague Jiho laughed from across the room. "They're desperate. Doreks asking humans for help. The universe must be ending." "It's a bad assignment," Mincio admitted. "But orders are orders. You leave tomorrow." The next day, Han packed his medical supplies and personal items into 2 small bags. He looked around his small quarters one last time. It wasn't much, but it had been home for 3 years. Now he was heading to a ship full of warrior aliens who probably hated humans. "Dr. Han," called a voice as he walked toward the shuttle bay. It was Jiho, running to catch up with him. "I brought you something," Jiho said, handing him a small box. "It's a recording of Earth sounds, ocean waves, rainforests, city streets. Might help when you're surrounded by aliens and their monsters." Han took the gift, touched by the gesture. "Thanks. I'll need it." "Why do you think they asked for a human?" Joe asked. "It doesn't make sense." Han had been wondering the same thing all night. "I don't know. Maybe because humans are known for being good with animals. Or maybe because no one will miss a human if something goes wrong," Jiho said darkly. Han tried to smile. "Thanks for that comforting thought." The shuttle ride to the Thunderclaw was long and quiet. Han was the only passenger. He used the time to read what little information was available about war beasts. The files were mostly about their fighting abilities, how they were used in battle, and how much damage they could take before dying. Nothing about their biology, their diet, or their health needs. As the shuttle approached the Dorek warship, Han got his first look at the Thunderclaw. It was massive and gray, shaped like a predator with sharp angles and weapons bristling from every surface. Not a single aesthetic touch softened its appearance. It was built for one purpose: war. The shuttle docked with a heavy clunk. The door hissed open, and a wave of hot, strange-smelling air hit Han's face. Standing in the doorway was a Dorek in full military uniform, looking down at Han with small yellow eyes. "Dr. Hanju," the Dorek said in a deep, rumbling voice. "I am Officer Subin. Follow me. Captain Q is waiting." Han picked up his bags and stepped onto the Thunderclaw, already missing the human medical station. Something told him this assignment would change his life forever. He just wasn't sure if that was a good thing. The inside of the Thunderclaw was even less welcoming than its exterior. The hallways were tall and wide to fit the Dorek's massive bodies. The lighting was dim and reddish, making Han squint to see. The metal floors rang with each step Officer Subin took, while Han's footsteps were barely audible in comparison. "Your medical bay is this way," Subin said without looking back. "You will not mix with the crew. You will not enter restricted areas. You will focus only on fixing our war beasts. I'll need to know more about them. Han said, struggling to keep up with Subin's long strides. Their biology, their diet, their normal behavior. Captain Q will tell you what you need to know. Subin cut him off. They passed several Dorks in the hallway. Each one stopped to stare at Han, their yellow eyes narrowing. Some made low growling sounds. Han kept his eyes forward, trying not to show fear. The bridge of the Thunderclaw was a large circular room filled with Dorks at different control stations. At the center stood a massive Dorak with deep scars across his gray face. He wore a black uniform with red markings that Han guessed showed high rank. Captain Q, Subin announced. The human medic has arrived. Captain Q turned slowly to look at Han. His yellow eyes seemed to bore into Han's soul. This is what they sent? Q asked, his voice like stones grinding together. It's smaller than I expected. Han stood straighter. I'm Dr. Han Juve, sir. I was told your war beasts need medical attention. Q made a sound that might have been a laugh. Yes. They are dying. Human. Too many. Too fast. Bad for war efforts. Bad for Doric reputation. I'll need to examine them, Han said. And I'll need all your medical data. Q stepped closer, towering over Han. Our medics are the best in the fleet. They have tried everything. The beasts still die. If your medics could solve the problem, I wouldn't be here, Han said, then immediately regretted his boldness. The bridge went silent. The Dorks all stared at him. Han felt sweat break out on his forehead, but he didn't back down. To his surprise, Captain Q made that grinding laugh sound again. The human has teeth. Good. You will need them. He turned to Subin. Show him to the beast pens. Give him what he needs. As they left the bridge, Han let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. That was stupid, Subin said. Do not challenge the captain again. I wasn't challenging him, Han replied. I was stating a fact. They entered a lift that took them deep into the ship. When the doors opened, Han was hit by new smells. Stronger, wilder, like a mix of zoo and hospital. The beast pens, Subin announced. The large room was lined with massive cages. Inside each was a creature unlike anything Han had seen before. They were huge, with thick limbs and dark, leathery skin. Some had spikes along their backs. Others had extra limbs or oversized jaws. All looked like they were built for killing. But something else caught Han's attention. Many of the beasts were lying down, breathing heavily. Some had patches of skin that looked inflamed. Others moved stiffly, as if in pain. Our pride, Subin said. Doric war beasts, strongest fighters in the galaxy. They're sick, Han said, his medical training taking over. How long has this been happening? 3 months, a new voice said. A female Doric approached, wearing what Han recognized as medical insignia. I am Dr. Suk, head beast medic. 28 beasts dead already. More will follow unless you can help. She handed Han a tablet with medical data. Everything we know is here. Our methods fail. The beasts grow worse. Some refuse to eat. Others attack handlers. Some just stop moving. Han scrolled through the data, his concern growing. I'll need a workspace, and I want to start examinations right away. Dr. Suk nodded. This way. As Han followed, he heard a low rumbling sound. He turned to see the largest beast in the room watching him from its cage. It was massive, with scars across its face, much like Captain Q's. Its eyes, unlike the Doric's yellow ones, were deep blue, and they were fixed directly on Han. That is Tanker, Subin said. Alpha beast, strongest of all. And now, also sick. Han looked into those blue eyes and felt something unexpected. Not fear, but connection, as if the beast was trying to tell him something. I'll start with him, Han said quietly. Dr. Suk led Han to a small room connected to the beast pens. Inside were basic medical tools, screens showing beast vital signs, and a large metal table. Your workspace, she said. Not made for humans. Sorry. Han nodded. Everything was too big, but he could manage. I want to see Tanker now. Suk and Subin exchanged looks. Tanker is dangerous, Subin warned. He has killed 3 handlers this month. He's sick, Han replied. That might be why he's aggressive. Dr. Suk pointed to a control panel. This opens his cage and the connecting door. We will watch from here. If there is trouble, we will use shock sticks. Han frowned. No shock sticks. They cause stress. It is for your safety, Subin insisted. I'm here to help them, not hurt them, Han said firmly. No shock sticks. After a pause, Suk nodded. Your choice, your risk. Han gathered some basic tools, a scanner, some swabs, and a small light. He took a deep breath as Suk pressed the control panel. A loud buzz sounded, followed by the clank of Tanker's cage door opening. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the massive beast appeared in the doorway. Standing upright, Tanker was nearly 9 feet tall. His leathery skin was dark gray with patches of blue. Muscles rippled under his hide. His hands ended in claws that could easily rip through metal. A neural implant was visible at the base of his thick neck, glowing with a faint red light. Han's heart pounded, but he kept his face calm. He remembered what he'd learned about wild animals back on Earth. No sudden movements. No direct eye contact. Show no fear. Hello, Tanker, he said softly. I'm Dr. Han. I'm here to help you. The beast tilted his head, those blue eyes studying Han with clear intelligence. He made a low rumbling sound deep in his chest. I need to examine you, Han continued in the same gentle voice. I'll try not to hurt you. He slowly raised his scanner. Tanker watched but didn't move. Behind the safety glass, Subin and Suk stared in amazement. He should be attacking, Subin whispered. The human has a way with him, Suk replied. Han slowly circled Tanker, scanning different parts of his body. The beast turned to keep Han in view, but made no aggressive moves. When Han reached the neural implant, Tanker suddenly growled. Does this hurt? Han asked, pointing to the implant. To his shock, Tanker nodded. It was a small movement, but unmistakable. Han froze. War beasts weren't supposed to understand language. They certainly weren't supposed to respond to questions. Can you understand me? Han asked. Tanker nodded again. Han's mind raced. This changed everything. The beasts weren't mindless weapons. They were intelligent beings. Can the others understand me too? He asked. Tanker nodded a third time, then made a series of rumbling sounds. From the other cages, Han heard answering rumbles. They're talking to each other, Han whispered. He looked at Tanker's implant more closely. The skin around it was red and swollen. When Han moved his scanner near it, Tanker winced. This is hurting you, Han said. The implant is causing inflammation. Tanker made another rumbling sound, this one almost like a word. Han couldn't understand it, but the meaning seemed clear. Yes. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the room. Red lights flashed. Tanker tensed, his claws extending. Battle stations, Subin shouted. We're under attack. The door to the examination room slid open. Captain Q stood there, his yellow eyes moving from Han to Tanker. Deploy the beasts, he ordered. But they're sick, Han protested. The implants are hurting them. This is war, human, Q growled. Pain is part of war. He pressed a control on his wrist. Immediately, the red light on Tanker's implant glowed brighter. Tanker roared in pain but began moving toward the exit. Han watched helplessly as all across the room, war beasts responded to the same signal, dragging themselves from their cages despite their obvious pain. This is wrong, Han said. They're sentient beings, not just weapons. That, Captain Q said coldly, is why no one asked for your opinion. Han paced in his small quarters. The battle had ended 2 hours ago. The Thunderclaw had won, but at a cost. 3 war beasts had collapsed during the fight. 1 had died. The door slid open. Subin entered, looking tired. "Captain Q wants to see you," he said. Han followed Subin back to the beast pens. Inside, he found a grim scene. The beasts were back in their cages. Many had new wounds. All looked exhausted. In one corner, Dr. Suk and her team were examining the body of the dead beast. Captain Q stood watching, his face hard as stone. "Human," he said when he saw Han. "You claim to have found the problem. Speak." Han took a deep breath. "It's the neural implants. They're causing inflammation in the beast's nervous systems. It's like their bodies are fighting against the implants." "Impossible," said Dr. Suk, joining them. "The implants have worked for years. Why would they cause problems now?" "I need to run more tests," Han admitted. "But I think the implants may have been slowly damaging their systems over time. The effects are just now becoming visible. Can you fix it?" Q demanded. "I would need to remove the implants," Han said. The room went silent. Then Q laughed, a harsh sound without humor. "Remove the implants. Then how would we control them in battle? How would they receive commands? Think, human. They don't need the implants to understand commands," Han argued. "They're intelligent. They understand speech. I saw it myself with Tanker." Several Dorek officers who had gathered nearby muttered among themselves. One stepped forward. Han recognized him as Officer Dai, known for his dislike of non-Doreks. "This human speaks nonsense," Dai said. "War beasts are weapons, not people. They follow implant signals because their brains are too simple for anything else." "That's not true," Han insisted. "Tanker responded to my questions." He nodded. "He understood me." "Coincidence," Dai dismissed. "Or you imagined it." Han turned to Captain Q. "Let me prove it. Let me speak to Tanker again, with all of you watching." After a moment, Q nodded. "Very well. Show us this." Understanding. They moved to Tanker's cage. The great beast was lying down, breathing heavily. Fresh wounds marked his thick hide. The area around his implant was even more swollen than before. Han approached the cage. "Tanker," he called softly. "Can you hear me?" Slowly, the beast raised his massive head. Those intelligent blue eyes found Han. "I want to help you," Han said. "But I need to show them that you understand me. Can you stand up?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with visible effort, Tanker rose to his feet. "Now, can you touch your right hand to your head?" Tanker lifted his right hand and placed it against his head. Murmurs spread through the watching Doreks. "It's just trained responses," Dai insisted. "Like an earth dog." "Then ask him a question he couldn't have been trained to answer," Han challenged. Dai stepped forward. "Beast, how many fingers am I holding up?" He held up 3 fingers. Tanker looked at them, then tapped his foot on the floor 3 times. The murmurs grew louder. "A trick," Dai said, but he sounded less certain. Dr. Suk moved closer to the cage. "If they truly understand, why have they never communicated before? Would you try to talk to someone who treated you like a weapon?" Han asked. Captain Q had been watching silently. Now he approached the cage. "Beast," he said to Tanker, "do the implants cause you pain?" Tanker looked at Q directly. Then he nodded, a slow, deliberate movement. Q's face showed surprise, then something almost like shame. "The human is right," he said quietly. "They understand. But the implants are necessary for war," Dab protested. "Without them, the beasts are useless to us." "Not useless," Han corrected. "Different. Partners instead of tools." He turned back to Tanker. "I need to examine your implant more closely, to understand why it's hurting you. Will you let me?" Tanker nodded again. Han looked at Captain Q. "I need time and resources. I can help them, but not if you keep sending them into battle. Q was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. You have 3 days. No more. As the Dorix filed out, Han stayed by Tanker's cage. I'll fix this, he promised. Somehow. Tanker made a rumbling sound that, just for a moment, almost sounded like words. Han spent the next day in the beast pens. He had set up a small lab in the corner where he tested samples from different beasts. The Dorix had given him access to their medical equipment, though some of it was too big for his human hands. Subin had been assigned to stay with him. At first, the Doric officer had watched Han with suspicion, but as the hours passed, he began to show interest in Han's work. What are you looking for? Subin asked as Han studied a tissue sample under a scanner. Signs of how the implants affect their nervous systems, Han explained. Look here. He pointed to the screen. The scan showed nerve tissue with small areas of damage around it. The implant sends electrical signals directly into their brains, Han said. Over time, these signals have damaged the surrounding tissue. But why now? Subin asked. They have had implants for years. I think the implants were upgraded recently, Han said. The new ones send stronger signals, more control, but more damage. Subin looked uncomfortable. Yes, 6 months ago, Captain Q ordered new implants for all beasts, for better battle coordination. Han nodded. That's when the problem started, isn't it? 5 months ago, Subin admitted. We lost the first beast 5 months ago. Han turned back to the beasts in their cages. Most were watching him. They seemed calmer today, as if they understood he was trying to help. I want to try something, he said. Can we let Tanker out again? Subin hesitated, then pressed the control panel. Tanker's cage door opened. The huge beast stepped out slowly. Without handlers or shock sticks, he seemed more relaxed. He walked straight to Han and stopped a few feet away. Hello again, Han said. I'm learning about your implants. I want to try to speak to you differently. Han had been thinking about how the beasts communicated. They made rumbling sounds, but also used body language. He raised his hand, palm out, like he had seen the beasts do to each other. Tanker looked surprised. Then he raised his own hand, palm out, and pressed it gently against Han's much smaller one. You understand me, Han said, but I don't understand you yet. Tanker made a series of rumbling sounds. Han listened carefully, trying to hear patterns. They had a language, Han said to Subin, not just sounds, real words. Subin looked doubtful. How can you know this? Listen to the patterns, Han said. The same sounds repeated in different orders. That's language. Han turned back to Tanker. Can you show me what hurts? Tanker touched the implant at the base of his neck. Then he touched his head. Finally, he pressed both hands to his chest, over his heart. The implant hurts your neck, your head, and your heart. Han guessed. Tanker shook his head. He tapped his chest again, then pointed at the other beasts in their cages. Han thought for a moment. Not your heart. Your feelings. Your emotions. Tanker nodded vigorously. The implants hurt your body and your feelings. Han said, understanding. They make you do things you don't want to do. Another nod. Subin stepped closer, watching with growing amazement. They have feelings. Emotions. Of course they do, Han said. All intelligent beings have emotions. More beasts had come to the fronts of their cages. They were making soft, rumbling sounds to each other. Word spread quickly through the Thunderclaw. The human medic could talk to war beasts. The beasts could understand speech. Some crew members came to see for themselves. Others refused to believe it. Han worked day and night. He created a simple picture system that helped the beasts communicate back to him. He learned that their rumbling sounds had different meanings. Low rumbles meant pain or sadness. Higher sounds meant happiness or excitement. Officer Dai watched these developments with growing anger. He cornered Han in a hallway on the second day. You are turning weapons into pets, he accused. War beasts are meant to fight and die for Dorix. Nothing more. They're living beings, Han replied. They deserve better. You have filled Captain Q's head with foolish ideas, Da hissed. It will end badly. Han reported this conversation to Subin, who had become his ally. Da is not the only one who thinks this way, Subin warned. Many Dorks believe the old ways are best. The old ways are killing the beasts, Han said. Captain Q called Han to the bridge later that day. He had been reviewing Han's findings. You believe you can modify the implants? Q asked. Han nodded. Yes, I can design a new system that works with their biology instead of against it. It would still allow for battle coordination, but without causing pain or damage. And how long would this take? Q demanded. A few weeks, Han admitted. I would need to test it carefully. Q frowned. We don't have weeks. We are at war, human. Then let me remove the current implants. Han pleaded. They're killing the beasts. Replace them after I design something better. And how would we control them in battle without implants? Q asked. You wouldn't control them, Han said. You would lead them. As teammates, not tools. Q seemed to consider this. Then the ship's alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Enemy ships. A Doric officer shouted. 3 attackers. They came out of nowhere. The Thunderclaw shook as it took fire. Q rushed to his command station. Deploy war beasts, he ordered. All of them. No, Han protested. They're not ready. The implants could kill them. Would you rather we all die? Q roared. Han had no answer. He ran to the beast pens, hoping to help somehow. Subin followed. They arrived to find chaos. The beasts were being herded out of their cages. Handlers activated their implants, sending battle commands. The implants glowed bright red. Several beasts collapsed instantly, their bodies convulsing. Others roared in pain but stayed standing. Stop, Han shouted. You're killing them. Tanker was the last to be released. When his implant activated, he let out a terrible cry and fell to his knees. But then, with visible effort, he stood up again. Han ran to him. Tanker, can you hear me? The beast's blue eyes found Han's. They were clouded with pain but still aware. Fight against the implant, Han urged. Don't let it control you. The ship rocked again from another attack. An announcement echoed. Enemy boarding. All fighters to defense positions. Han made a quick decision. Subin, I need to remove Tanker's implant. Now. Here, during battle. Subin asked in shock. Yes, it's killing him. I need your help. After a moment's hesitation, Subin nodded. Together, they guided Tanker to the medical area. Han grabbed his tools. This will hurt, he told Tanker. But then the pain will stop. Do you understand? Tanker nodded, then bent his head to give Han access to the implant. Working quickly, Han cut around the device. Tanker made no sound despite the pain. Carefully, Han disconnected the implant from Tanker's nervous system and removed it. The effect was immediate. Tanker straightened up, his eyes clearing. He touched the spot where the implant had been, then looked at Han with something like wonder. Just then, the door burst open. Captain Q stood there, his uniform torn and bloody. What have you done? He demanded, staring at the removed implant in Han's hand. Saved him, Han said simply. We are losing the battle, Q said. Beasts are falling. Crew are dying. And you remove an implant. The implants are why they're falling, Han insisted. Tanker can fight better without it. Let him prove it. Another explosion rocked the ship. Alarms screamed. We have no choice, Q admitted. Beast, can you fight without your implant? Tanker stood tall. He nodded once firmly. Then he roared, a sound of strength and determination that echoed through the ship. Tanker moved through the ship with speed and purpose. Without the implant's pain slowing him down, he was faster and more alert. Han and Captain Q followed close behind him. The hallways were filled with the sounds of battle. Explosions shook the ship. The enemy had boarded and was fighting its way toward the bridge. They turned a corner and found 3 Dorek soldiers pinned down by enemy fire. The enemies were reptilian creatures with green scales and 6 limbs. They carried energy weapons that left black burn marks on the walls. Tanker didn't wait for orders. He charged forward with a roar. The enemies turned their weapons on him, but he moved with surprising agility. He dodged the first blast, jumped over the second, and reached the enemies before they could fire again. What happened next amazed everyone watching. Instead of simply smashing the enemies as war beasts usually did, Tanker used tactics. He knocked the weapon from the first enemy's hands, then used that enemy's body as a shield against the other's fire. He disabled all 3 enemies without killing them. "Incredible," Captain Q said. "I have never seen a beast fight like that." "Because you never let them think for themselves," Han replied. They continued through the ship, meeting more Dorek soldiers along the way. Some were hurt. Han stopped to help them while Tanker guarded him. They reached the beast deployment area. The scene was grim. Many beasts lay on the floor, their implants glowing red as they had system failures. Others fought weakly, clearly in pain. Dorek handlers shouted orders, using shock sticks when the beasts didn't respond fast enough. "Stop," Captain Q ordered. "No more shock sticks." The handlers looked confused but obeyed. Tanker moved among the fallen beasts, making soft, rumbling sounds. Some responded weakly. "He's talking to them," Han said, encouraging them. Han turned to Captain Q. "Let me remove more implants. The beasts that can still stand, they'll fight better without them." Q hesitated only a moment. "Do it. Quickly." With Subin and Dr. Sook's help, Han removed implants from 5 more beasts. Each one recovered quickly, standing taller and moving more freely. They gathered around Tanker, who made a series of rumbling sounds. "What is happening?" Q asked. "He's giving them a battle plan," Han said, amazed. "They're organizing themselves." Officer Day appeared, his uniform torn and his face angry. "What madness is this? The beasts are without implants." "By my order," Q said. "Watch." Tanker led his small group of freed beasts toward the sound of fighting. Instead of charging blindly, they moved with coordination, using hand signals to communicate. 2 beasts went left, 2 went right. Tanker went straight ahead. They encountered a large group of enemies trying to break through to a critical area of the ship. The freed beasts attacked from 3 directions at once. The enemies were caught by surprise. Han watched in awe as the beasts used teamwork and strategy. They protected each other. They used the environment to their advantage. They even picked up fallen weapons and used them. In minutes, the enemies were defeated. Not a single freed beast was seriously hurt. Captain Q turned to Han, his yellow eyes wide. "This changes everything." "Now do you understand?" Han asked. "They're not just weapons. They're warriors." More enemy forces were reported heading for the engine room. Without waiting for orders, Tanker's group moved to intercept them. Officer Day watched with a dark expression. "This is dangerous. Beasts that can think for themselves, that can plan. What happens when they decide they don't want to fight for us anymore? Maybe they'll still choose to fight with you, if you treat them with respect," Han suggested. The ship rocked with another explosion. The battle was far from over. "Free the rest," Captain Q ordered. "Remove all implants from beasts that can still fight." "Sir," Dab protested, "this goes against all Dorek tradition." "Tradition is not helping us win this battle," Q growled. "The humans' way is." Han moved quickly among the remaining beasts, removing implants as fast as he safely could. Each freed beast joined Tanker's growing army. For the first time since arriving on the Thunderclaw, Han felt hope. Not just for the beasts, but for understanding between species. If Doreks could see war beasts as equals, what other barriers might fall?